Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another book review with your boy HSR. This is the little show where I'm running through the books I'm reading this year. I saw a meme on the internet that said CEOs read 60 books on average each year, and I decided that if CEOs could do it and I one day want to be a CEO, I should start now. So boom, started reading them, adding that into my life. Basically, as I do each of these book readings, I am trying to do a review. I'm a little backlogged, so you're going to see if you might have seen a few come out recently. But as I try to read them, I'm going to get out these reviews as quick as possible and just kind of run through the book a little with you, give you a sense of what I took away from the book, the style the book's written in, who it's for, should you read it, etc. So, without further ado, why don't we jump up on into this? It's not really scripted or anything. I took some notes, so apologize for the free-form nature of my content. So, this guy is written by Dale Carnegie, and it originally dropped in 1936. That's right, this book came out in 36. That is like 80-something freaking years ago. And yet the knowledge is that fucking paramount. So he dropped it there. I think the one I'm reading for you was last updated in the 80s. I don't have the physical book on me because I gave it to Chris Chrome, who reviews on us, because I thought it was a very useful book for me. So I'm sending it his way. And so let's talk about the book then. The book gives you some instructions, which I happily ignored at the beginning, but I thought it was pretty interesting that this book gave you instructions. It came out of this guy's class, because all these books seem to come out of classes these guys taught, and in the 30s, there wasn't really books like this on subject matter such as winning friends, influencing people, and becoming more likable. So let's say he's the pioneer of this genre of self-help. Interesting. But it's a really interesting book. So it gives you these instructions, which are pretty sound, like read the first chapter and like fucking skim it. And then read it again and like pay attention to it. And as you're reading, make sure to stop and be pensive and think about the ideas. And once you've finished reading the book, make sure to revisit it every couple of months. And then, leave it on your damn bookshelf invisible so that you see it and you reread it and stuff. And then at the very end of that, he's like, oh, but if you're like just reading this for fun or for some other purpose, feel free to disregard these rules. I disregarded these rules. I'm reading this on my quest. I would have loved. I'm gonna read it again one day. It's spoiler alert. It's very valuable knowledge, but I mean, I just didn't feel like reading each chapter twice. That sounded a little bit redundant and a little bit less fun. Okay, so this book kind of just describes basic human principles about how to go from being a complete dick and an arrogant fucker into somebody that you can like go meet your girlfriend's mother and she'll be like, oh, he's such a fine little boy, or whatever you are, girl, whatever world we're in. It first gives you fundamentals in handling people, like don't criticize or complain. I criticize a lot and I complain a lot. I've been really actively trying not to in general, but this book has made me really focus on those two particular things. Super easy to criticize people when they fail. So you can watch as I basically beat down Chris on multiple podcasts with my voice. That would be an example of criticizing someone for being wrong. It's not a helpful way to approach a situation, and it doesn't necessarily change anybody's mind. It's just you letting off steam and you being a dick and you causing insurmountable damages that cannot be seen. So with that in mind, I was like, shit, criticizing, bad, damn, okay, gotta rethink that. Then complaining. Everybody complains. I've been watching for it. Frankly, most of my colleagues seem to bond over complaining about things, which has made it, I guess, hard for me to understand how to fit in as I try to complain less, but that just seems to be the way things are. People really like to complain. So I've decided, just not just because I read this book, but this book eloquently puts why you shouldn't do these things. And I'm just saying in general, these are things I'm working on because, as this book puts, it's that basic to getting like along with folk. Then it kind of goes on stuff like how to make people like you. And again, I as I was reading this, didn't realize how much I needed to read this book. Like it's stuff like when you see people, to smile and say, "Hey, how are you?" You know, like to look excited, to look like you care. You don't actually have to care, but it's easier if you care. So the more sincere you are as a person, so you have to give a shit. So basically, if you don't give a shit, people know you don't give a shit and you're less likable. Fuck, it's like basic stuff, you know. Anyway, I feel like this is just like, this whole book is just common sense that assholes need to read, because we're really not aware of how important common sense is for people who are not necessarily assholes. Then you get 12 steps to make folk follow you, because we are assholes, so we obviously want to accomplish some shit and realize that we need some people to help us accomplish that shit. So it gives you some sound advice, like avoid arguments. One of the things with my current girlfriend, we don't argue very much. We go out of our way to not argue, because it goes nowhere. And when you're arguing, somebody's trying to be right. And if you're arguing and you are right, whatever you were right about tends to not actually give you what you wanted. So you might win that fight in that moment and you get that sense of, yeah, I'm winning. But when you really consider the big picture, you don't actually know what the consequences of winning that little particular battle is. There is a war to be won instead of these instant battles per se. It's also like admitting when you're wrong. Thankfully, I'm really good at that one. But to know how to admit when you're wrong actually helps you avoid a lot of arguments. One of the reasons we don't argue, me and the lady, quite so much is because when I fuck up, I'm just like, well, I fucked up. And then what is there to argue about? You're not getting out of it. Your apologies come off more sincere and everything, because you at least know what you did wrong. You know, stuff like that. Basic shit. Then a bunch of stuff on how to be an effective leader, which kind of takes all the other principles and wraps them up, and then it summarizes everything at the end. And essentially, if you read this, you should be able to be wiser. Guys like Warren Buffett and Chuck Manson, yeah, that's right, Charles Manson, have used this to effectively run their various empires, we can call it. So I don't know, I'd say that if you are a person who aspires to do anything and you feel that you struggle with people, with expressing your ideas, or I guess dealing with life, then this book is going to help you. It is, I mean, it's a real classic. It's like 80 something years strong, and here I am in 2018 being like, bro, you need to read this. I don't care about the subtle art of not giving a fuck. I don't care about all these other books. If you read this book, at least you can approach people and get their wisdom. And that's going to help you a lot in life. More than most other books that might help you realize your ambition. This will help you realize how to find people who can actually help you realize your ambition. Anyway, so that's the end of this one. I really dug this book. It's made a surprising impact in my life in the couple of weeks since I've read it. I did read it a little bit back. You can check my Instagram at HSR514 if you want to see when I read each book. And yeah, so let me know what you thought of this in the comments. Let me know if you've read it, if it's impacted you in some way. Like this video if you did. Feel free to subscribe to the channel for more content. We did just finish our Grind to 1,000 subscribers contest, so if you had liked, subscribed, and commented by then, you would have been entered into a draw for Amazon gift cards. We'll be giving away more in the future, and it's retroactive with the comments, so feel free to participate now. We've also started a Patreon at patreon.com/behindthatsuit, and you should check that out and join our request raffle. And yeah, so thank you for watching. You're freaking awesome. You're the most amazing person for being here and checking this out. And I would love to see more of you in the future. So check back and all that. Peace.